Make sure to check out my new website. It has all of my Moneyline picks that I talk about in my videos, like this video right here. And then if you become an exclusive member for $20 for the entire NFL season, you'll get my best bets for that week as well as a best parlay play. You can also see previous picks. So last week went 13-3, went 11-5 in week 1, so getting a little bit better. Steelers really had that game until the fourth quarter. They were tied and then they just give it away. Broncos Colts was crazy. Broncos won the game, and then they said that on the field goal attempt that was 60 yards that was missed, that one of the Bronco players touched the snapper, which automatically gives the team another shot in a 15-yard penalty. And then the Vikings-Falcons game was disappointing. It was never very competitive. All right, Dolphins at Bills. Thursday Night Football. Bills have a 75% chance to win according to ESPN. This should be an easy Bills victory. Minus 900 odds here on the money line. I wouldn't even bet this game. Projected to win by, it was like 11.5 at this point. It'll probably be more than that. The Bills are just an absolutely dominant team. Crazy week 1 win against the Ravens, destroyed the Jets last week. The Dolphins, thankfully, were at least competitive against the Patriots, but Patriots, a team they should beat. Remember, they did get blown out in week 1 by the Colts. Doesn't look like any injuries are really going to affect this one. Beyond the fact that the Bills are just objectively a much better team. Lead the league in offense, 450 yards a game. A second in passing. It's crazy that Russell Wilson's killing it with the Giants. Second in rushing. Fourth best turnover rate. So this game is going to be pretty much a blowout. All right, Packers at Browns. Definitely going with the Packers here. Browns aren't a bad team. I know they're 0-2, but I do like Flacco. I do like that Judkins is back. Got blown out by the Ravens. Everybody does. Should have beat the Bengals, or maybe not should have beat, but we're very close to beating the Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow. Packers, we know what they've done. Beat the Lions in pretty solid fashion in week 1. And then in week 2, I think beat a really good Commanders team. And it was a really sound win for them. So I was impressed by that. Just looking through the injuries real quick. Okay, none of these should be much of a factor. I think the main thing, obviously, is Jordan Love is super efficient in the offense that they run. Josh Jacobs obviously is a beast. Tucker Kraft has come on. All their receivers do a great job. So this should be it. This should be a solid win for the Packers. I would probably say that they'll win by more than a touchdown. So I would take the minus 7.5 for the spread as well. All right, next up, Colts at Titans. Colts are a sneaky good team. I'm going to go with them on this one. I don't want to say actually because they've been playing really well. I think they could win this game by more than 3.5, honestly. Colts have a 65% chance of winning. According to ESPN, that's pretty accurate to me. I mean, Cam Ward hasn't been bad, but just look at the difference there. 588 passing yards, almost 600 yards in 2 games. The Colts have not punted yet this season, which is ridiculous. Jonathan Taylor, 236 yards already. Tyler Warren has been an insanely solid draft pick by them. No surprise at all. He was incredible in college. Doesn't look like there's anyone listed as out that we can expect. Titans were very competitive against the Broncos in week 1. Kind of kept up with the Rams. Rams pulled away at the end in week 2. Colts pulled off a major upset, and the Broncos, in my opinion, obviously destroyed the Dolphins in week 1. So the Colts are a good team. I think they're going to definitely win this game. So you can bet on, you can probably bet them on the spread as well by winning by more than 3. All right, next up, Bengals at Vikings. Vikings have a 55% chance of winning this game. Obviously, Burrow is out for 3 months. I'm still going to go with the Bengals on this one, though. Pretty good money here if you take them on the money line plus 130. You'll make $130 profit if you bet $100 on them. I'd say that they're going to win this one. I think Jake Browning does a great job. McCarthy's out, I think, for like 3 weeks as well. So Carson Wentz is going to be in. I think he's honestly, their offense will probably be better with him because he at least takes risks, kind of like what Darnold did. So that'll be good to see. I think the Vikings will be a much more competitive team. They've been pretty poor offensively with J.J. McCarthy, but I just think that Jake Browning, 3 interceptions is concerning. But he can make plays. He can run the offense. Obviously, they have Jamar Chase, and obviously the Vikings have Justin Jefferson. But when it comes down to it, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, and I think just their scheme in general. Vikings have a great scheme too. I just don't believe in their quarterbacks. We'll see if Carson Wentz proves me wrong. I just don't see it. Obviously, Burrow, as we mentioned, out for several months. Looks like decent amount of starters are out, including their defensive end, who's doubtful. Aaron Jones, wow, that's out. He's out for a while. Okay. Didn't know that. J.J. McCarthy out for a while. So there's definitely some notable Vikings that are out. Although Jordan Mason is beast, probably be better for the Vikings in the long run. Bengals had an impressive win over the Jaguars without Burrow for most of the game and squeaked by a divisional opponent in week 1 against the Browns. Vikings never really were competitive against the Falcons. That was extremely disappointing. And a comeback divisional game against the Bears. I think the Bengals got this one locked up. All right, Steelers, the Patriots. Patriots are actually, Steelers are a slight favorite, according to ESPN. And according to the betting line, minus 130. So you have to bet $130 to make a $100 profit. And that's the way that works for anybody that doesn't know how the betting odds work. I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. I think that they bounced back. I think that they honestly should have won that Seahawks game. Jalen Warren got tackled at like the 4-yard line or something like that after like an 80-yard reception, and that was crazy. I think Rodgers played well enough. He got him lucky with a dropped catch in the end zone and ended up being an interception. Steelers had the weirdest play we'll probably see all year, where they just don't even recover the kickoff return. It ends up being a touchdown for the Seahawks. So that game really got away from them, but I thought they had controlled it until the fourth quarter. Looks like Highsmith is out. Very concerning that Jalen Warren, and now he had that big play that I just mentioned, but he's the leading receiver for the Steelers. That's got to change. DK's got to step up, got to get our tight ends the ball more, especially when Aaron Rodgers only has 500 passing yards. So Highsmith's out. Loudermilk, not a starter, is out. Joey Porter Jr. being back will help. Hopefully, Derek Harmon returns, and Elliott, those are the huge boosts. Christian Gonzalez, hopefully he's not out for the Patriots' sake. Our best defensive player there. Patriots had a solid win against the Dolphins and were competitive against the Raiders in week 1. Steelers had a very tight game against the Jets in week 1. Now we went to the Seahawks one. I'm just going to have to go with Steelers here, just based on Aaron Rodgers' first Drake May. Also, I think the Steelers defense finally puts it together this week. They've been allowing ridiculous amounts of points the first 2 weeks of the season. That's got to get shored up, and I think it starts in this game. All right, Texans at Jags. At the beginning of the season, I would have taken the Texans, expecting them to have a bounce back year from last year's disappointment and to build on C.J. Stroud's successful rookie year. They have been extremely underwhelming in the first 2 weeks of the season. I'm going to have to go with the Jags here, and I never like taking the Jags, but a couple reasons. One, Jags are 4th in offensive yards per game, 389 yards per game. I don't think that they've played any great defenses, but still, that's something to say. Also, leading the league in rushing right now, 169 yards. So for anybody that didn't take ETN, sure they're regretting it now. Also second in the league in turnovers. So So they definitely are up there in some stats, and doing some things well. They're also at home, so that helps. Trevor Lawrence, I do not love the 3 interceptions and 73 pass attempts in 2 games. That's concerning. But more concerning against a good team. And I don't necessarily think the Texans are a good team. I think they should be a good team. I think they could be a good team, but right now they're not playing like a good team. That's like we mentioned, ETN's doing a good job with rushing. Chubb has just been Nico Collins really needs to get back into his swing of things. And who is this? Where is Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr.? If Trevor Lawrence almost has 500 yards passing without them, I think he could be having some crazy numbers once they decide to come on. So it doesn't look like there's going to be really any injuries that impact this game. Jags, they barely lost the Bengals last week, although that was without Joe Burrow. Most of the games, that's concerning, especially for their defense allowing 31 points to Jake Browning, or at least the majority of those were from Jake Browning. Carolina Panthers handled them pretty soundly in week 1. Texans were close against the Rams. Looks like they were close against the Bucs. It's really just a late game kind of fluke thing. Blocked punt, and then just momentum from there that really got them to the point to be even close. They never really were competitive in that game, unfortunately, and that's why I'm going to have to go with the Jags. I just think right now they're playing better. They're the better team. If the Texans won, it wouldn't shock me, especially this being a divisional game. But I'm going to have to agree with the ESPN matchup predictor here and the money line. Go with the Jags. All right, Rams to Eagles. Definitely the Eagles here. I would take the Eagles against any team in the NFL. And that will probably remain for the rest of the season. 58%. ESPN expects them to win. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a ton of passing yards. He doesn't need to have a ton of passing yards. Obviously, Matthew Stafford can only pass. Puka looks like he's killing it. No surprise there. The receivers for the Eagles have not got anything going, which is very disappointing. But I guess they haven't really needed to. A good combination of rushing from Hurts and Barkley. Let's see. Witherspoon's on IR. He's not a great player, so that's fine. If Goddard plays, that'll help the Eagles. The Eagles are just a solid team. I know these are close wins, but they really controlled both these games and just haven't really had to put, they're all into anything yet. And I wouldn't be surprised I'm doing the same against the Rams. The Rams are obviously 2-0. I don't think they've beat good teams, but they have gotten wins, so that's helpful. But going to have to go with the Eagles here. Minus 190 is really not bad for a team that's a Super Bowl champion that's starting off the season pretty strong. Wouldn't be surprised if they won by more than 3, but I'm going to go with the Eagles to win this game. All right, Jets and Buccaneers are going to have to go with the Bucs here. Minus 300 odds, you have to bet $300 to make a $100 profit. Tampa Bay has a 71% chance of winning, according to ESPN Analytics. Baker Mayfield is clutch. No picks, 70 passes, way too much. I don't love that. 382 passing yards. Justin Fields, we'll have to look into his status, see if he is expected to play. Concussion. Okay, so that's like probably 50-50. If he has a concussion, that he'll play. Obviously, if he doesn't, that makes the Jets even less likely to win. Doesn't matter, though. I'm going with the Bucs. Minus 300 odds isn't great. I definitely wouldn't play it by itself. You could stack it in a parlay, but I would recommend watching the game, waiting for the Jets to either have a lead or be competitive. For the odds to get better in the Bucs' favor, that should give you a better payout. Mike Evans, no surprise, does what he does. Bucky Irvin, I'd like to see him make a little bit more splash plays. Garrett Wilson, Jets leading receiver. Breece Hall not doing too bad. The only obviously injury that should affect the game would be Justin Fields, so we'll keep an eye on that. Once I can see he's going to be still out for the Bucs. And then Chris Godwin, hopefully he returns this week. That would help the Bucks quite a bit. They handled the Falcons in week 1, had that crazy win from the Texans I talked about in the previous preview I just did of the Texans-Jags. Jets lost a very close one to the Steelers, then got blown up by the Bills, but who doesn't? So Jets aren't a bad team. That just, the Bucks, I think, are super underrated and can, especially in their home stadium, probably put this game out of reach. All right, Raiders at Commanders. Gonna have to go with Commanders here. I almost always take the Commanders unless they're playing an absolutely great team. And even then, I still have to think about it. Commanders have about a 60% chance to win, according to ESPN Analytics. Minus 185 isn't terrible. You could parlay it just with a couple other games, get a pretty good return on your money. Geno Smith, no surprise. In his true Jameis Winston ways, Pinebridge are 42 yards passing, which is a crazy high amount. But when you pass it 77 times, that makes sense. 4 interceptions, obviously that is not good. I don't think the Commanders do anything super special. Nope, doesn't look like it. Running backs are about the same. Jacoby Myers is solid as always. Devo's Mitza plays. Okay. For anyone that doesn't know, Austin Eckler is out for a while. I think for several months. We'll see if Jackson Powers Johnson is still out, and definitely missed him in that game against the Chargers. Commanders dominated the Giants and then were humbled by the Packers. Raiders got a shocking win, not a shocking win, but an upset win over the Patriots. And then we're never really competitive against the Chargers. So I'm going with Commanders here. All right, Falcons at Panthers. This one is a toss-up because after what Penix did or did not do, I guess is a better way to say it, on Monday Night Football, I don't love that. I don't even think the D... I don't think that the Texans are that great of a defense. So for Michael Penix Jr. to not really light them up. Start off, the Vikings had the muzzle lead defense over Michael Penix Jr. not really to carve them up. Is a little bit concerning. Bryce Young, 90 passing attempts in 2 weeks. That's like unheard of. 4 touchdowns, which is good. 3 interceptions, not so good. So he's pretty much the anti-Michael Penix Jr. Takes a bunch of risks, makes a bunch of plays, also makes a lot of mistakes. Bijan is a beast, continues to be a beast, leads the team in rushing and receiving. McMillan has been a solid rookie receiver, and even Hubbard hasn't been terrible in the running game. Let's see. Anything I know?
Sure.
Not really. That should impact this game. Panthers lost a close one to the Cards and were handily beaten by the Jags. Falcons lost a close one to Baker in the box. And then recently had a pretty solid win over the Vikings. But regardless, I don't know how good of the Vikings are. I don't think they're a great team. So I'm going to go with the Falcons. Actually have a sneaky good defense, only allow 229 yards per game. Raheem Morris is a defensive mind, so I'm not surprised by that at all. 5th in sacks, which isn't bad at all. They really struggled with that over the last several years, and doing well with it now. 2nd in turnover differential, 4th in rushing. So the Falcons are doing a lot of really good things that you like to see. Again, don't love that their offense isn't very explosive, but they have explosive players, especially Bijan. So I will actually go with the Falcons. All right. Broncos at Chargers. The Chargers have a 57% chance of winning this game. I think it helps if they're at home. This is going to be a close game. I could see either team winning. I'll go ahead and go with the Chargers just because I think they played better. And I think they have the better defense. I think the Broncos have a good defense. The Chargers clearly have a pretty good defense. They've played pretty well. If we look at how they've fared so far, they have the whole Kansas City to 21 points. Able to hold a pretty efficient, well, I don't know, he threw a bunch of picks, but at least passing yards wise efficient. Geno Smith to 9 points. The Broncos really disappointed me, although the Colts are looking good with Daniel Jones, but that they gave up 29 points, and they should have won that game, but they didn't. And they didn't look great against Cam Ward, I'll say. I mean, 12 points isn't anything crazy, but their offense didn't do as much as they probably should have. So the Chargers look like the better team right now. They are the home team. Let's see if there's any injury. If that Khalil Mack, the injury was nasty. I'd be shocked if held he back, but I guess we'll see. Okay. So maybe he will play. That'll help. I don't think they need him, but look at the quarterback comparison. This is kind of what I was talking about. Justin Herbert has essentially been perfect. I knew his numbers were good. I didn't know they were this good. He might lead the league in passing right now, 560 yards, 5 touchdowns, 61 attempts is very surprising, in my opinion, just because last year they weren't really passing it much, but maybe they're finally realizing Justin Herbert's pretty good. Our receiving core's pretty solid now that we have Keenan Allen back. Let's get it going. Last year was all about the run for them. This year, they're not really doing it, but they haven't needed to. So I'm sure when they need to rely on the run game, they'll be able to. Looks like J.K. Dobbins, who was the Chargers running back, is doing pretty solid for the Broncos. Bo Nix is putting up he's putting up stats, but 3 picks is not good. Not good at all. Troy Franklin is really stepping up. Hufanga is a nice addition for them. Let's kind of look at the team stats and see if Chargers lead in any categories here. Okay, so passing yards, the 4th in the league. And then their turnover ratio is 4th best in the league. So, yeah, I'm going to be going with the Chargers in this one. All right, Saints at Seattle. Going with Seattle in this one. 65% favorite according to ESPN. Minus 380 odds. So not great money. I personally wouldn't bet this game just because I don't know if the Seahawks are a lock, but I do think that they're going to win. It's just the money's not there. I mean, you could put it in a parlay. I just don't think that it's worth it. Seahawks aren't a bad team. They had that. I don't want to say come from behind win against the Steelers, but the Steelers pretty much controlled the game until the 4th quarter. And then Sam Darnold and their defense really took over. He's played all right. He hasn't been amazing. I think he's been better than Spencer Rattler. It's hard if you have 80 attempts, but no picks, so that's impressive. 80 passing attempts, though, that's scary. They really need to get their. Looks like their run game has been okay with Kamara, but I think they've just been behind in every game that they've been in. So I think the Seahawks are just a more talented team. They've got better players, so that's kind of the main point there. Let's look at he used to get traded for Galen Polk, but he's on IR. Seahawks, if Devin Witherspoon comes back, that's a huge addition for them. Saints have been competitive, though. Competitive against 2 good teams, in my opinion. Not great teams, but good teams in the Cardinals and the 49ers. I think the Seahawks should have beat the 49ers. That was a freak play with Darnold in week 1. And then obviously they handled the Steelers mainly in the 4th quarter there. So I'm going to be going with the Seahawks in this one. All right, Cowboys versus Bears. This one really puzzles me. I have no idea why why this is listed as a pick'em game. Same odds no matter who you pick. I mean, I get it. It's in Chicago, so that helps their odds a little bit. I don't think they have a shot in this, honestly. Cowboys are 53% favorite according to ESPN Analytics. I think they're going to win by at least a touchdown, probably more. Dak, as you can see, 549 passing yards, a lot of passing attempts. But Javonte Williams has been good. CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb, of course. Rome Odunze's really stepped up this year. I think he's like the fourth receiver in fantasy right now, which is pretty crazy. Caleb Williams hasn't played bad. He hasn't. But, unfortunately, they instead of play two good teams, but I don't even know how good the Vikings actually are. Obviously, the Lions stomped them. The Lions typically do that. Cowboys definitely could have beat the Eagles. Should have beat the Eagles if CeeDee Lamb didn't have those drops at the end of the game. And then that Giants game was crazy, but it's a divisional game, so I'll cut him some slack there. I think the Cowboys are a better team than most people think. Let's look through the injuries real quick. The BB's on IR. Alvershawn is out. Hopefully, Deron Bland and Turpin are able to play. I just think the Cowboys are way too talented of a team, especially offensively. They've got some playmakers on this defense that I'm sure will get Caleb Williams for a pick because he's bound to try to make some crazy play that doesn't work out. The Bears will keep up for at least the first half, but I think the Cowboys will pull away. And offensively, there's no way. I mean, they do have, what's his name? Trying to think of the Bears corner that's super solid. But they can't stop everyone. I don't think they can stop Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, so I'm going to be going with the Cowboys in this one. All right, Cardinals at 49ers. This is a pick'em game, and I honestly feel like that. First, let's see the status of Brock Purdy. Oh, he's out. Okay. That makes it easy for me. I'm going with the Cardinals in this one. They're a slight underdog, but slightly. Games in San Francisco looks like they're a slight underdog. Betting wise, but according to ESPN, they have a 52% chance of winning. Cardinals are a pretty decent team. They could definitely beat the 49ers, even with Brock Purdy. Mac Jones played pretty solid. He usually does. He works in this kind of offense. Still have CFC, obviously. Ricky Pearsall is fine. Looks like he's having a pretty good season so far, so that's good for him. I'm just not threatened by the receiving core. I don't think it is what it once was in their athletic prime. And I don't know, is Kittle back? Must be, because I don't see him here. So he must be back. Still, though, I just think that Kyler Murray, with Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride and Benson and James Conner, and their defense has some playmakers, Campbell and Buda Baker, but the 49ers still have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. So I'd say that's even-ish there. Maybe edge the 49ers just a little bit still, even though they have aging stars. But I just think the fact that they have their starting quarterback, he's pretty athletic, and they always give the Niners trouble. I'm going to be going with the Cardinals in this one. Yep. All right, Chiefs at Giants. Let's just say the Chiefs better win this game, right? 0-2. They have played good teams, but doesn't matter. If the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl, the last however many years, they need to be able to beat the good teams. Giants have been, I was going to say they were competitive against the Cowboys. They were. Not against the Commanders. I think the Cowboys game, the Cowboys can't really clearly stop the pass, so that helped them out a lot. Obviously, the Giants can score some points, but ultimately, I think the Chiefs are a way better defense than what they've seen so far. Chiefs still have a solid defense, just their offense can't really get it together, which is disappointing to see. Xavier Worthy might return. Hollywood Brown has been good. He's been a fill-in receiver one. Malik Neighbors obviously is a monster. Really don't like that the quarterback suffer weaving rushers on the team. That is terrible. At least Mahomes has over 100 rushing yards. But 618 passing yards, most of them from the last week from Russell Wilson, is pretty ridiculous. He can't do that against the Chiefs. There's no way. It is in New York, so these odds I think would be even. I think that the Chiefs would be even more than a touchdown favorite if this was the case Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs are not gonna. They're not gonna slip to 0-3, especially against a team that I don't think is that good. They can be competitive. They can be good, but overall against a better team, they shouldn't be able to compete. So I'm going with the Chiefs in this one. All right, Lions, Ravens. Looks like the Ravens have a 56% chance of winning. Miss the Lions out the Ravens. Just want to make that clear. Ravens are a heavy favorite against a good Lions team. People are down on them for that week 1 loss to the Packers, but they showed up against the Bears and showed who they really are, a team that blows out other teams. I'm going to go with the Ravens just because the Lions haven't been able to beat them. In current form, obviously with Lamar Jackson, they're pretty much unstoppable. And then they added Derrick Henry, and now they're really unstoppable. Could the Lions win? Definitely, until they do it, though. I can't bet on them to do it. The Ravens are just dominant in the regular season. I should have beat the Bills in week 1. That was a crazy game. The Ravens are a 4.5-point favorite. If they win, it's going to be by much more than that. And I think they will win by much more than that. People just give the Lions credit that they're a good team, but you can see the spread open to 5.5. It's going down to 4.5. But when the Ravens win, they win, especially out of division. They blow teams out. So I would not be surprised at all if that were the case. Jared Goff has played really well according to the stats here. I think he's going to struggle probably against the Ravens defense a little bit more than he has to this point in the season. Great running backs there. Derrick Henry has the edge so far. Zay Flowers outplaying Amon-Ra St. Brown is pretty sad for the Lions' sake. Let's see if there's any major injuries. If Isaiah Likely's back, then it's over. They'll really be unstoppable. But Nisi, the Ravens blew out the Browns. Crazy loss week 1 to the Bills. Kudos to the Bills. Lions, not super competitive in that Packers game. Although, who knows? One play could have changed that for sure. That pick six that was called back. And then the Bears blew them out. So going with the Ravens in this one, the odds aren't great. So I wouldn't recommend betting this game just because the Lions are good enough to beat them. You could stick it in a parlay if you want, but I wouldn't call this game a lock by any means.